Hey there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith with an update on what we're seeing forecast-wise, and the main focus is this is some of the quietest weather we've seen in a long time. And it's going to stay quiet and stay dry for a while. So there are going to start to be some dry spell concerns, possibly some drought concerns, because it looks like we're going to be rain-free going forward for about another week to 10 days. And let's take a look at what's happening with some of the maps here. First of all, I want to bring up our water vapor loop. And what it's showing us is that we have a lot of dry air showing up around the area. And the reason why we can see that, or what we see here, is that the areas where you see the brown right over Mobile and the black, that is drier air. The moisture will be associated with the white stuff that's going on over across the Florida Peninsula. So, you know, we've got a pretty dry pattern going on in the area right now, and I'm going to get my little pointer out and show you. So that brown stuff right there is dry air. Here comes another shot of it coming down, and with the daytime heating and a little bit of wind, it mixes down in the afternoon, and we can see that drier air getting into the picture. Now, what about rain chances over the next couple of days? Well, it's going to be, it appears to be warmer than usual as we head through the 21st of September. So that means the evaporation rate will be higher, and that's really important because when we have a dry spell, if the temperatures are higher, you really need more rain to keep up with soil moisture and those kind of things. When the temperatures are hotter and you see the abundant sunshine and the air's a little drier, evaporation rate's really high, and so it's really easy to get those bone dry conditions. All right, here's a look at our rainfall outlook here. And you can see the below average rainfall expected through the 21st of September. We just don't see any big fronts coming through that are going to give us a lot of rain. It's possible by the tail end of the forecast we may start to see some isolated showers, but I don't think it's the kind of rain that's going to dig us out of the dry pattern. And you can see the temperatures are going to be above normal again through the 19th and through the 25th. So this gets us to the end of the month. And this is the Climate Prediction Center outlook, and it's not 100% accurate because it's a long-range forecast, but it gives us a really good idea of what the trends are here. Definitely warmer than usual. And we'll take a look at our rainfall in the further out time frame. We're getting towards the end of the month, 19th to the 25th. Near normal precipitation, we'll probably start to see some showers and thunderstorms. There may not be a lot to it, but I think that what I was just looking at with the long-range GFS and Euro models is that we'll start to get a troughing pattern, not this weekend, but the weekend of the 20th and 21st. And actually, I'm going to pull up the calendar and make sure I have the exact dates on that. But so we know exactly what weekend we're talking about. Yeah, it's the weekend of September 20th and 21st. Right in through there, we may start to see enough going on in the upper levels that we could get some rainfall in the area, and that would help. And so far, we've been pretty much bone dry in September. So if we make it to about the 20th of the month with no rain, that's a pretty long dry spell for one of the wettest places in the country. Mobile, Pensacola. We see more rain on average total in a year than most cities in the United States, and often we're the wettest city in the United States. And there are other places like Seattle, Washington. Everybody says, that's the rainiest city in the United States. Well, number of rainy days, yes, but total annual precipitation, when it rains here, it pours. And so we can see up to, on average, around 60 to 65 inches of rain per year. And September is not typically one of our driest months. It can be dry, but normally we're still in our active thunderstorm season, and we see a little over 5 inches of rain in September. So if we go through 20 days without any rain, that's really, really dry. So how do we know that it's going to be dry? Well, the way we can tell that is by looking at the upper level pattern. And some of the trends we're seeing going on with this upper level pattern is that we're going to have a general ridging across the U.S. And so I'm going to back this up, and this will probably be when the ridging is at its peak, sometime over the weekend and early to next week. And the reason why we see a ridge, that's when the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere go up over and back down. So we're underneath that ridge. And in this particular graphic here, you can see that the orange goes all the way up to Wisconsin. And so that's showing an upper level ridge. And then as we animate this graphic, the only thing that we see that you think would give us a little bit of hope is there is a lighter color orange over Atlanta and over our area. That's an upper level low. The problem is that upper level low, we're going to be on the back side of the upper level low, which is the dry side of the upper level low. So we may get a little cutoff low underneath the ridge, but it's going to actually put us in the drier side of it, which is going to keep rain from forming. And so that's the upper level pattern through Thursday. You're just not seeing a whole lot. All right, let's look at dew points. And this is a measure of atmospheric moisture. And what we're seeing is pretty dry air around. Normally for like summertime thunderstorms, you'd be looking for dew points to be 73 and up. And then when we don't have that dry surface, we don't have that moisture at the surface, it's hard to get the thunderstorms to develop. And we're looking at dew points in the mid to lower 60s. So it's going to feel okay. Our temperatures will be hot, but we just don't have the moisture for rainfall showing up in that forecast. All right, let's see what else. All right, how about the drought? All right, where do we stand with the potential of drought conditions in our area? We've got the new drought product. This is called the Drought Monitor. And what it's showing is that we've got abnormally dry conditions over most of Mobile County. In the northern part of Mobile County and southern Washington County, we are in a moderate drought. So this has been quite the dry spell for us, and it extends into northern Baldwin County and just north of Atmore and up through around Frisco City and Monroeville. So very, very dry. All right, just to show you too, after all that, I wanted to give you the 10-day here because this goes way out in time. And our 10-day forecast looks, as I mentioned earlier, really, really dry. We really don't see any significant rain even through the weekend of the 20th and 21st. However, we might see a few clouds Saturday and Sunday, and our rain chance is only about 20%. It's not enough to really put the on the graphic, and I'm talking about the tail end. I'm talking about next weekend, not this weekend. We could see some clouds, but not enough to put a thunderstorm icon on the graphic there. So we are looking at hotter temperatures too in the area with our forecast. So definitely looking very, very interesting there with our forecast getting dry and getting to be pretty toasty across the area in that forecast. And so we're going to keep an eye on this. We may get into a more significant drought situation if we make it through the next 7 to 10 days without any significant rain. I would imagine we're probably knocking on the door of some drought conditions in places where it hasn't really developed yet. And you know, we're at the tail end of the growing season, and drier weather in the tail end of the growing season actually can help farmers to harvest, but it does create some issues with a lot of the farms across the area to have the dry weather. And of course, we're watering the yard. So that's an update on what we're seeing. Could be dry through at least the middle of the month, possibly to the end of the month before we really start to see some relief. Thanks for joining us for Next Weather.